Hey guys, welcome back to Spill the Tea. This is episode 5, and we have Mr. Guruprasad Sowle with us. Today's guest is Guruprasad Sowle, a chartered accountant turned global advisor, a public policy voice, a host of Light to Lighten podcast, where he spotlights entrepreneurs and leaders from around the world. With more than 25 years of experience in finance consulting and strategy, he now serves as the international advisor on India for World Trade Center, Utah. He co-founds and leads the Indus International Research Foundation of Indo US Affairs, and he helps a lot of companies, and he speaks also to a lot of entrepreneurs on his podcast. So I'm glad to have him here. Welcome, Mr. Guru. Thank you so much for taking time to join me on this podcast. Is there anything that you'd want to add to what I said, or can we just start with the questions? It's up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Tarun. I think you've been very generous and kind to say all those nice words about me. I just want to compliment you for giving a great title to your podcast, Spill the Tea.
Thank you.
And I do hope I don't spill more than what I should be.
It's fine. If there's anything, obviously we can cut that out and post that.
We
It's
can cut
perfectly
it out.
fine.
Yeah.
So
Go
I
ahead.
think without
Yeah,
taking too much more time, I think we can just get started. I think we'll cover like quite a few topics as we kind of run through the questions anyway.
yeah, yeah.
So the first thing we'll start off is basically your origin story and your identity. So when someone asks, what do you do? How do you introduce yourself today? Do you define yourself as a growth leader, public policy voice, impact investor, something else?
So there are two aspects of what I do. One is professionally, I manage money for people,
Hmm.
and if I'm not managing money, I'm trying to help people in a different way, help nations build collaborative initiatives. And I'm deeply into initiatives that drive social impact.
Okay.
And that's pretty much essence of what I do. Uh,
That's
and I enjoy public life, so I've
that's
been in.
a very impressive introduction, if I say so myself. So, I really appreciate it. Having somebody as influential as you or impactful as you on the podcast, and I'm hoping that a lot of the listeners today get to kind of learn something or just kind of understand what life is like for somebody who's so impactful and how you kind of go about your how you went about your career and your life. So kind of jumping in straight to your career in finance consulting. You've worked with firms like PwC and Arthur Anderson, and you've advised C-level leaders across the globe. What did those early consulting years teach you about business, which really make decisions behind closed doors?
Well, that's a very deep question, to be honest. It's difficult to answer that in a limited time frame, but
Hmm.
I'll try my best. Decisions in businesses. I started my articleship for CA when I was 20 years old at A. Ferguson, and I had this opportunity to work with Fortune 500 companies and audit their accounts
Hmm.
just off of my graduation. And I was a young kid sitting in boardrooms, and clients used to wonder, what is this guy doing here? And I probably didn't know myself as to what I was doing there, but I was just going through the drill that my bosses were teaching me because my only goal those days was to finish my CA and do it from a prestigious firm like A. Ferguson, which was affiliated to Pete Mavic those days,
Hmm.
which is now APMG, right?
Right.
Uh, See, decisions, business decisions are not always apparent, right? And most of the business decisions are made by certain intuitive teams or
Hmm.
intuitive promoters, and and there's also uh, the intelligence gathering that happens when decisions are made. They could be strategic decisions, they could be operational decisions, they could be decisions that impact people,
Hmm.
decisions that could impact environment around them. So there's so many kinds of decisions, right? Because if you look at an organization, you're looking at various components of the organization, the people, the process, the technology, the
Yeah.
infrastructure, and the whole external environment. So a decision could impact any of these components or stakeholders,
Yeah.
right? It really depends on what decision are you making. If it is a decision that's going to impact customers, absolutely that takes the topmost priority because in any business, everything starts with the customer and ends with the customer.
Yeah.
It's typically that balanced scorecard approach, right? So you put customer on the top, and then you build your organization and you build your strategy, process, technology, and policies and everything else to be aligned to deliver the best outcome to the customer. And so invariably where decisions directly impact customers, it really is quite an intuitive process. There's a lot of fact gathering that happens.
Yeah.
But what I learned is decisions are beyond reports and management information reports or data analytics reports or even today if you look at AI,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, to what extent will AI aid decision making?
Yeah.
Beyond all this, I think there's that human component. And what I learned uh, is there's that intuitive power of decision maker that invariably makes that impact. I've seen in Fortune 500 companies, CFO giving a great recommendation based on all the ERP reports and technology enabled reports and number crunching and all that data analysis that happens in the best in class kind of form.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, uh, the promoter or the business leader knows how he needs to use that data.
Correct. Yeah.
So, so I think it's about turning the data and trying to relate to a particular situation in that environment. Right?
Okay.
Data is only as good as facts.
True, for
Beyond
sure.
beyond that, it is your business acumen. It is your knowledge of your environment and what is
Mm-hmm.
environment in a business situation, your customers, your government, your stakeholders, your shareholders, your employees, and so on and so forth. So what they do is they take facts and they sensitize it to what the market wants
Mm-hmm.
or what they can do in the marketplace. So and also factoring the competition. So there's a lot in decision making that's not apparent,
Yeah.
but I think as I started experiencing more of it, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as I kept moving in my career, I realized that data and intelligence, or even AI, for that matter today, can only go up to a point. End of the day, it's all about human beings.
Yeah.
It's not about technology. It's not about systems. It's not about infrastructure.
That's a great point. I feel like I feel like it's a common misunderstanding to a lot of kind of new gen folk who are kind of getting into the market. They feel like, everything is powered by data and they kind of just put the data itself out there. And I feel like that sometimes tends to kind of break the intended purpose of what you're actually trying to get, the information that you're trying to pass on to like another person. So bringing in that human factor and how you sensitize it to the situation that you're in, I think is a pretty strong point. And when you were in those board meetings for the first time, were you surprised or were you awed at like the way that people conducted themselves or the way that information was kind of put forth as opposed to what your views were in that time?
If you're relating it to my early career days,
Hmm.
I was absolutely nervous. It was such a imposing environment,
Hmm.
and we started our careers when the corporate world was very hierarchical,
Yeah.
right? So a VP, a president, a manager, senior director meant a lot.
Yeah.
But today it's a flat structure. Today it's about teams. It's about collaboration. Those days it was all about hierarchy. It was about power. It was about authority. It was about who's senior and who's junior, etc.
Hmm.
And as a young kid sitting in a Fortune 500 company boardroom, I I was absolutely nervous. It was like going to a war for me. I used to wait for the meetings to end
Yeah.
uh, Because if there's one question I fumbled on answering based on my audit, I would get smacked by my manager. And it was a nervous experience. It wasn't easy. I think first few years of my career, uh, it took a lot for me to be there, muster up my courage, and go through what some of my colleagues actually could handle it very easily.
Hmm.
But I think I had a longer learning curve. But that also helped me in a way
Yeah.
because although I was a slow starter, I didn't give up.
Yeah.
I said, irrespective of how nervous I am, I'm going to stick it out and get through this. And so it was quite a, you know, I would say a nervous experience, a tentative start
Yeah.
uh, to my career. But I knew that it wouldn't be easy, and it's not easy to just go straight from university to corporate boardrooms
Hmm.
and talk with confidence and authority.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be a super genius. And, but I was still learning. I'm still learning, by the way. So,
Of course. I feel like that's a great point. Like that nervousness that a lot of people feel, I've heard, obviously kind of scaling it down to like the people and the teams that I've worked with, a lot of people have kind of come out to me and been like, how, like, just like how you mentioned that you kind of put forth a straight face for a lot of these things, because in that boardroom, you're not really going to show that nervousness kind of on your face. That's definitely not something you want to do. So I always tell them that, hey, the point is to kind of just kind of push that back during that meeting, but then make sure that once it's done, after it's done, you kind of just kind of work through what you know is your weaknesses and then kind of take it from there. So the fact that you mentioned that, like nervousness was a part of it, I feel like is something that should be relatable to a lot of people who are possibly listening to this. Um, Kind of just taking it from there in terms of like your general decision making and stuff like that, because a lot of it kind of pours into research and stuff that you have done, right? So currently you serve as the president and the director of Indo US affairs at the Indus International Research Foundation in the US. In your view, what are most people misunderstanding about the future of the India-US relationship, especially younger professionals who want to build careers in like both worlds?
that's a great question, and I can kind of relate it to some of the recent developments, right?
Hmm.
Just to set the context, and then we can go as far
Yeah,
back as you need to
yeah.
go. So, if you look at the last 12 months, right, there have been two or three changes in the geopolitical scenario.
Hmm.
Uh, One is, of course, between India and US, the tariff situation,
Yeah.
which was looming large, right?
Hmm.
And then there's this H-1B visa situation. And thirdly, uh, depending on the geopolitical shifts that are happening, uh, nobody knows who's aligned with whom today,
Yeah.
right? There's India's going to China, and things are happening in between Ukraine and US, and Russia's seemingly posing different kind of challenges in Cuba and so many other places.
Hmm.
It's kind of a complex world today. It's no
Yeah.
longer a bipolar world, right? It's a multipolar world today, and nobody knows who will be the superpower in the next 10 to 15 years.
Hmm.
Although India has this grand vision of 2047 to be
Yeah.
seen as one of the most powerful nations in the world.
Hmm.
So, one of the misconceptions that uh, I've seen. So let me kind of relate it to the interview I gave to Republic TV the day
Okay.
tariffs were kind of announced and it went up to 50%,
Hmm.
and entire India was up in the arms. India was shaken, right? India
Yeah.
was like, oh, what the hell, and how can America do this to India?
Yeah.
And a few hours after the tariff announcement came from White House, I got a call from Republic TV, and they asked me my views on what do I think as a Indian American here,
Yeah.
and also as the president of a think tank. We're working actively between India and US for collaboration. So I made a very bold statement, and which I believed in, of course, and I
Hmm.
still believe. Uh, I told I told the media, look, what you're seeing is just a temporary deviation. This is not going to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree, Trump announced it, but I'm sure the Indo US relationship is at such a level, it's at a totally different level. Both nations need each other, two larger democracies in the world. And there's so much common between India and US. I told them this relationship will not dilute medium term to long term. There's a dent temporarily, but please don't lose hope. There is a huge potential because there's so much to come in the next 20 years. India and US will be a fantastic partnership, despite the tariff blow that I don't think people could even uh, believe me when I said that. And I had a couple of other panelists in the media that day, and they were like yelling. I, I was literally like, okay, calm down, guys. I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a huge Indian lobby in the US, and
Yeah.
there are Indian Americans represented very well in the Congress. And everyone's doing their bit to make sure that India gets a fair deal, and India got a fair deal. Right? So irrespective of what comes from US government,
Hmm.
due to various reasons, with due respect to US government and Indian government,
Yeah.
uh, don't mix politics with relationship.
Yeah.
Don't politicize relationships because over a period of time, both nations are mature enough to connect
Yeah.
and dealing politics. Collaborations will happen. There is a obviously it's already the tariffs are already rationalized now. Just for example, and I even went to uh, India. I spoke to a few people and said, look, we want to bring a delegation. The tariff problem was not solved yet.
Hmm.
Is it a good environment to bring a US delegation to India? And nobody said no.
Yeah.
CII, FICCI, Chambers of Commerce, Indian Merchants Chamber, Mumbai, the government, the ministers, they were all welcoming US delegation, despite all this tariff noise that was happening.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was also a huge media, uh, you know, exaggeration that was happening, if for want of a better word.
Yeah.
That fear was being amplified unnecessarily.
Hmm.
But on the ground, we knew that Indo-American relationship is a long-term relationship,
Yeah.
and it always had issues, right from 1950s,
Hmm.
uh, right from Nixon days to the current, White House. There were
Yeah.
always issues. India has been great in navigating those issues. So my suggestion to anyone is, let's remove politics out of economic collaboration,
Yeah.
education, etc., etc. Then let's talk about your H-1B subject, right? Again, I got a call from Republic TV when H-1B fee went up to 100,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a big blow,
Yeah.
and I get it. I get it. I'm sure Indian students are still worried as to will they get jobs here? Will there be enough employers to pick up that 100,000 tab,
Hmm.
etc. Right? Uh, See, there are two ways of looking at it. Right? America is pushing for real talent to come to US, and they're saying if you think this guy's really worth it, pay 100,000. I'm sure employers have the money to spend that. If the employers really want them, they don't mind spending 100,000 on the fee. There's
Hmm.
nothing right or wrong about it. The US government thinks that is the price they deserve for the visa they're going to approve. It is their pricing strategy,
Yeah.
right? Let's take the emotion out of it. It is their pricing strategy. Is it a shock for Indian students? Absolutely. I mean, I would have preferred H-1B to still be at $4,000 to $5,000, right? Now, this is something that we need to look at how to overcome over a period of time. It is also pushing the envelope for Indian students to be so good in what they do.
Hmm.
Companies don't mind paying that 100,000 to get the H-1B. And recently, I think there's also a bill in Congress uh, to eliminate H-1B completely.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is dynamic. This is dynamic. Another message I have is for those who are fearful of uh, changes that are happening in the
Hmm.
immigration policy. Just just you know take a pause and think for a second. In the world today, it's not just US. Whole world is a whole world of opportunity.
Hmm.
Okay? India is a big uh, opportunity geography today. People love to go to India and work there.
Yeah.
There's Germany, there's Japan, there's Australia, there's New Zealand, where Indians are welcome. So I think there are options all over the world,
Hmm.
and and when time comes, who knows? Even this H-1B policy may be rationalized to the extent that it becomes a cakewalk for Indians.
Yeah.
I know I'm a bit biased in saying that, but I'm not ruling out anything.
Right.
Not ruling out anything. Yeah, temporarily, yeah, there are some issues, but you know, don't lose hope or don't panic.
Hmm.
I think we need to think differently with this challenge. There are different ways to approach it, and we have to learn to adapt to the change.
Yeah.
And it's also a signal that time has come for Indians that America is not the only country to come and work.
Yeah.
Maybe the focus needs to shift, and I'm sure many Indians are shifting their focus. And there are a lot of people looking at Canada, Spain. I think made an announcement about welcoming Indians with
Yeah.
very limited restrictions and so on. So see, the reality is change is constant. Okay, some changes are deeply impactful, some changes are subtle.
Hmm.
This is the first time that Indian students are facing the heat,
Hmm.
and this was to come sometime in the 100 years. It had to happen sometime. So we're in that time frame.
Hmm.
I think we just need to adapt and rehash our own strategies of our careers, of our lives, and keep moving. And again, see, in this is a topic where there's nothing right or wrong about anything. You can't justify the visa fee. You can't not justify the visa fee. It
Hmm.
all depends on how you look at it. Everyone's right in their own way, right? But end of the day, as an individual, you need to draw a line and say, okay, here are the constraints, and this is how I'm going to overcome this, and then I'm going to shift my own personal style.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I deviated or answered your question, but I just want
No,
to.
you definitely, I mean, that is basically what the current scenario is for, kind of the relationship between India and US at the moment. Because, I mean, obviously, this is something that I myself also have been keeping track of a lot because I'm in that pool, which is kind of in that space. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the few things that I feel like a lot of people, I mean, this was news because at this moment, there's also like, because of how much information people kind of take in and their sources always can't be trusted because that's something that I've been battling like personally in terms of just like validating all the information that I kind of see or read whichever source it's from and kind of understand whether that's actually truthful or not because the $100,000 H1B shift was quite a hit for like almost everybody, and then that was just like all I could see for like weeks altogether. And then I did read somewhere where they mentioned that it was basically $100,000 fee when you're trying to bring in overseas talent, and it wasn't applicable to students who are graduating out of like US based colleges. I wanted to just check if you knew whether that was actually factual or is it still just a $100,000 fee, regardless of whether you're in the US or if it's outside?
Uh, I'm not very sure about it. Honestly,
Okay.
this is a question for an immigration lawyer, but it's a great
Mm,
question.
yeah.
But I do know that people who are already holding H1, it didn't impact them.
Yeah.
Maybe it impacts new applications. I'm
Hmm.
not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I would
As far
like to.
as because as far as I know, what I've read and kind of looked at and done research on is the fact that if your visa sponsorship is coming from the US and if you're able to get it done within the United States, it should be fine. But again, take that information with a pinch of salt. This is all to the listeners and viewers. Do your own research and always make sure that whatever you're basing it out of should not be just from a third party source. It should always be
Do your
from research
research
you've
and
done.
consult an immigration attorney
Yes,
because
100%.
this is
So,
one domain where you cannot take a chance.
yeah. And I feel like your other point about kind of looking outside also in terms of just ways and means, kind of understanding that this is the situation is definitely like how people should look at it. Even I've started to kind of just take it for what it's worth because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, if you put your emotions into it, you're not really getting anything out of it, right? You're just putting yourself into a position where you may feel more stressed rather than trying to just find a solution for the situation that you're dealt. May not be the best relation or kind of metaphor, but it's pretty much like playing poker, right? You're dealt with the cards that you have, and then it depends on what you play with it, that what you can do with it. So it is what it is. You kind of have to work with how it is right now, because at the end of the day, how much ever we, put our emotions out, at the end of the day, it is going to be what it is. So,
I'll share an example, my own example actually.
okay.
I wanted to come to US to do MBA after my CA.
Hmm.
It was my dream too, the American dream, typical American dream.
Yeah.
I finished my CA, went to US consulate. I even had a scholarship from a
Okay.
US university for MBA. And those days, getting a scholarship for MBA was next to impossible.
Yeah.
I probably got lucky.
Hmm.
I went to the visa officer in Chennai, and she asked me, "Why are you going to US?" I said, "I'm going to do MBA." He said, "You already see CA, you don't need an MBA." I said, "No, I want to do international business." And he said, "No, I'm not convinced." I didn't get the visa.
Oh, okay.
And my life, I thought, was shattered.
Hmm.
I thought that was the end of the world. And for 15, 20 years, I was only coming to US as a visitor. I built my career in India.
Hmm.
God was kind. I had a fantastic run in India. I still love India for what it gave me. Um, and then, in the middle of my career, there's an opportunity which sprung up, and an IT company wanted me to move to US as their global president, and I moved to US. Uh, I didn't come as a student; I came here as a CEO. And I'm not saying this fairy tale story will happen all the time.
Yeah.
May never happen to me again if I want some other change. But uh, I would always live with that hope that something is possible someday. If you're not getting your H1 today because of 100,000, maybe after 5 years, you'll come back on L1 as a CEO of your company. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So be positive. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Keep working. Just keep
Yeah,
moving forward.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like this, like what we're doing right now, is kind of giving also like a little glimpse into your life as like a public speaker in like a lot of media. And you spoke about how you were called to speak with Republic TV and stuff like that. You're in those similar lines, you're also a TEDx speaker and you have a regular presence on talk shows and panels. What draws you to the stage and the camera, and what do you get from these spaces that you don't really get from boardrooms?
That's a great question, Tarun. I must tell you, you've been so appreciative of my public speaking.
Hmm.
My first speech when I was in eighth grade was on Indira Gandhi's 20-point economic program.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
it was an elocution contest in Hyderabad in Model High School, where I did my high schooling.
Okay.
And I started the speech. I had mugged up all the 20 points. Uh, I started the speech. Entire 20 minutes, I was trembling. I was practically, both my legs were trembling. They were shaking so fast. Every second of that speech, I was dreading. I was kind of cursing myself as to why I went for public speaking because I didn't have. It was just a voluntary enrollment in a competition.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. And I completed the speech, and everybody clapped. But I thought in my own mind that I had screwed up. And there were about 500 people in the assembly hall. Uh, I was so ashamed. I completed the speech and I went home. And next day I come back to school and I find my name on the notice board. I won the first prize.
Okay.
And I was, what's happened here?
Yeah.
This happened. I was very nervous. I delivered, but
Yeah.
internally there was so much of fear. But the prize which I won helped me to overcome that fear.
Yeah.
I never knew I would. I thought I would even not complete the speech. I thought I'll probably forget something and just be a huge embarrassment to myself that day. That happened.
Yeah.
Luckily. And that's when I felt, okay, this is something interesting. And I went speech after speech, and that started my public speaking career. So, you're coming to your question about what I find in my uh, public speaking journey that I can't find in boardrooms.
Hmm.
See, to me, uh, speaking is an opportunity to express yourself.
Yeah.
It's that power of expression.
Hmm.
And you keep talking to yourself. Uh, but I love to speak out to myself, to an audience,
Hmm.
to the world, if possible, which drew me to whatever I'm doing today in public life. Right? I think everyone needs an outlet,
Yeah.
and the power of expression, that opportunity to express, is extremely important. That doesn't mean everyone has to be a public speaker. Uh, in a close group, you can have four friends where you're free to talk whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs an outlet. For me, this was an outlet which I tried to build on, and wherever I'm today,
Hmm.
by God's grace. But and I enjoy speaking, and I also, whenever I start a speech in an event, I tell them, look, I have a bad habit of not leaving the stage, so please remind me when my time is up. So
No.
you do the same when if I'm overdoing it here in podcast.
No, no. I will stop you. So the thing is, I feel like I'm quite similar in that regard. Um, I've also had like a stint. Like initially, I was also quite terrified of just kind of talking to like a fairly large crowd. I used to be comfortable with like smaller crowds, but then when it used to become a larger crowd, I used to kind of shake in my boots. Just like internally, I'd just be like having like a whole conversation with myself, just being like, "Don't screw this up. Do not mess this up. Just stay calm. Stay calm." It's like this
Exactly.
constant word. This is words of affirmation, I guess, in my mind, but. I feel like as you start to do it more and more often, you just tend to get very comfortable in that position. And then after a certain point, then it no longer is any fear. You're just talking to a bunch of people, and then you kind of understand that all of them are just human beings, and they're just going to listen to what you say, and whether they resonate with it or not, that's their prerogative. And you can just move on with your life, and it's not really going to change all that much. So I feel like that was also something that kind of took some learning for me, but then kind of got to a point where I've been quite comfortable. And just like you mentioned about, loving to talk, I feel like this platform itself and this the kind of podcast that I've created was basically for um, myself to kind of engage with like a lot of people in terms of conversations because my dad always told me about like networking is like the most important thing, but it doesn't always necessarily have to have a result. The main
Correct.
thing is just to learn or to just understand what people are and how they are, who they are, and then try and use some aspects of it for your own benefit. Otherwise, just use the rest of it as information, but always, always try and speak to people and get to know the people around you because you never know who can help. You never know if something or the other just clicks from one point or the other. So, I totally understand. And the whole speaking public thing is pretty cool. I've watched a couple of your videos, and obviously I've listened to a couple of episodes of your podcast as well. So, kind of talking about the podcast, since we are in the whole realm of public speaking and, talking about the podcast, you host a podcast called Light to Lighten. So, how has hosting that specific podcast changed the way that you show up as a mentor and an advisor to entrepreneurs and leaders in your day-to-day work?
There's a lot to learn, and even as I speak to multiple guests and personalities, I might have interviewed a few people, but there's so many other people I'm always talking to.
Hmm.
Right? Podcast is a pretext.
Yeah.
But what it does is it helps me to reach out to a large section of the society, a cross section of personalities who have made an impact in the world.
Hmm.
Some very well known, some not very well known, some who have done phenomenal things, but they're not in the limelight at all.
Yeah.
I get to talk to, if I've interviewed 10 people, I'd have spoken to 50 people,
Hmm.
right? And that is a very unique opportunity. Uh, if I didn't have the podcast, maybe I wouldn't have even uh, had a reason to reach out to any one of them. Right? And each time I speak to, uh, potential guests or my podcast guests, there's something you take away.
Yeah.
There's something you take away in terms of their approach, in terms of their outlook, in terms of their experiences, and there is always that uh, uh, you know in effect of motivation, of being among people who made an impact.
Hmm.
Uh, like they say, if you want to be positive, just be among positive people. And that itself is a huge takeaway for me personally
Yeah.
in my podcasting journey. And incidentally, sometimes you do get lucky, and I got lucky hosting Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar.
Hmm.
That's a world of an opportunity,
Yeah.
and that I would cherish, lifelong.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not trying to say other guests are not important, but these opportunities sometimes they come to you knocking when you
Hmm.
least expect them,
Yeah.
and they could be game changers in terms of learning, in terms of opening your eyes, in terms of the things that you could do.
Hmm.
Uh, it opens up huge possibilities. And in my childhood, I always had this caption from Reader's Digest. They used to send Reader's Digest. In between, there used to be a page, a thick card like a paper,
Hmm.
thick paper, two words on that, think big.
Yeah.
I used to cut that and put it on my wall when I was a student. And that that somewhere subconsciously drives me to kind of do whatever I'm doing today. And and the possibilities are infinite.
Yeah.
And so, see, we all love socializing, right?
Yeah.
Podcast is another form of socializing.
Yeah.
And you get to socialize with the elite. Uh, and I mean, who knew I would have time to interact with Hollywood actors and spend time with them, understand their world,
True. True.
and see, end of the day, all are human beings.
Yeah.
So you're no longer uh, mystified by seeing them just on television screens.
True. True.
You go behind and meet them in person, it's a different experience. End of the day, they're all human beings. So anybody could be an actor, anybody could be a state head, anybody could be a legislator, anybody could be a sportsman. So end of the day, uh, titles and reputations and uh, the aura, it's all perception.
Yeah.
And that's the learning that I'm kind of having each day these days. Is even as I meet each personality, I I kind of tell myself, yeah, end of the day, we're all human beings, so there's nothing to fear. And keep doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Kind of talking about the podcast and public speaking, I have actually, this was a thought that I've had quite often with like a lot of these, speakers and when they have interactions with like the public. Do you have a specific memorable moment? Maybe a question from the audience or one of your podcast guests, or a conversation afterward also possibly. Something that reminded you why using your voice in public spaces really matters?
Uh, Two instances. One is I was interviewing this Hollywood production team.
Hmm.
We were doing their premiere in Dallas. The movie's name is American Warrior.
Okay.
And I was interviewing the producer, the lead actress, Taylor Treadwell, and the social impact advisor, Priya Samant. And all three of them were on one show on my podcast. And then I was coming to the fag end of my recording, and I have a rapid fire segment in my podcast.
Okay.
And so I finished the rapid fire and I was almost about to wind up. And the producer of the movie, Rashana Shah, she turned back and she said, "Now we want to ask you a few questions." I'm like surprised. I was only used to asking questions and
Yeah.
I was in a sport, but I was enjoying it. Right? So she asked me, what makes you happy? One of the questions was, what makes you happy? And I always wanted to share that with the world. It
Yeah.
was it was an opportunity for me to share that. So I replied and I said, to me, happiness is giving. End of the day, when you give something, you feel happy.
Yeah.
It's also a point in life where you feel you've arrived and you're able to give, your basics are taken care of.
Yeah.
The giving is not just always in the material sense, right? It's about giving. It could be your time, your thoughts, your company. Sometimes it's not just money all the time. It's not materialistic things all the time. Is it being there for people who look up to you, who need you?
Hmm.
I think that giving itself. I mean, I quoted this example: a small child, you give it a candy, that smile is invaluable.
Yeah.
The child is so happy. Even if you give $1 million to many people, they won't be happy. They'll say, "Why not 10 million?" Right? A child will never say, "Give me 10 million chocolates." One candy, and the child days made. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, all set. So that's one incident. Another incident was when I gave the TEDx talk. It was in a business school,
Hmm.
and there were a few students who, after the talk recording, they came to me and they told me that uh, the topic I picked for myself was, uh, you know, believe in miracles. Miracles can happen.
Yeah.
And those B school students came and told me, look, after watching you, we now will believe in miracles and we'll go for it. We'll go for that ultimate. We'll think big. There are no constraints.
Yeah.
And the conviction with which they said, I really felt that somewhere I made an impact on a few people.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying.
That's that's quite impressive. Hopefully, at some point, I can also maybe say that for myself. I've had a few opportunities where I've taught softwares to students. I feel like that's my closest relation to something like that, where I've had the opportunity, like in this was quite some time back. This was, I think, around 2020, so about 6 years ago, where I'd worked with this company where we used to teach softwares to students. And surprisingly enough, a lot of architects also used to kind of join in because it was a software that was pretty new into the market. It was called Rhinoceros, and we used to allow us to create a lot of these organic shapes. And I had always wanted to kind of specialize in those kind of designs when I was an architect, and I kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of pick up the software. So to be able to teach it, I had to learn it. So that pushed me so much harder to learn it quickly because I had to reach a point where I was able to kind of teach people that. And seeing some of the people that I had taught then move on to go for their masters, and then they would get to these, prestigious universities because they were in India at the time, and they were working with like specific, the softwares that they would use is basically a part of like what almost everybody would know, and giving them that slight advantage and then seeing them kind of rise to the point where they are able to get into universities in California in the United States and even across the globe, like it was quite special just like seeing, because you always track their kind of progress. They'll follow you on LinkedIn and they kind of keep that up. So that was only the only thing I feel like I could relate in terms of like an impact. But
So
uh,
you're so young, you're already feeling that impact, and in that sense you arrived. We took ages to get there. So
you've been described as a mentor to founders and leaders navigating complex environments. When everything feels uncertain, what decision-making framework do you fall back on?
so there are a few things that happen when things get complex.
Hmm.
Right? Um, usually. in extremely pressuresome situations,
Yeah.
I always tell myself and I also tell people around me, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Uh, Ultimately, whether it's decisions or getting through them, uh, or even being successful in a particular situation, in a competitive situation, it all boils down to how well you can handle pressure.
Yeah.
Okay? To the extent that I would define success as a function of how well you can handle pressure. Why Sachin Tendulkar such a great cricketer? Because he could handle pressure so well.
Yeah.
It never showed. Each time he batted, he might have crumbled inside in the initial days, but it was Mr. Cool,
Yeah.
uh, Cool Dravid, Tendulkar, classic example. I think in a situation where decisions are not easy, take a step back, uh, do a 2 minute meditation, calm your mind, irrespective of how explosive the situations are. And thirdly, try to rise above the issue. What happens is there are many situations where we're involved in business and otherwise. We think it's the end of the world.
Hmm.
Frankly, nothing is the end of the world. Right? Life moves on.
Yeah.
On that day, yeah, you might not have made a right decision. So be it. You move on. There's another day
Yeah.
for you to perform. But don't fear failure and don't worry too much about consequences. It doesn't mean you can go murder somebody. But what I'm saying is, you know, select yourself to be to be as composed as possible.
Hmm.
I know it's not easy, but just getting worked up will only get you more confused and you're prone to make more mistakes. So invariably, uh, I take a short break or I step back or I take a 2 minute detour, do a 2 minute meditation, come back and pray whoever your God is to give you that energy to stay on top of everything.
Hmm.
Once you rise above the issue and look at the issue, it looks manageable.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's all in our mind. We think it's a humongous issue. Honestly, nothing is really end of the world. I had a experience when I was consulting at Pricewaterhouse. We had a public sector client,
Hmm.
and some deliverable was delayed for various reasons. It happens. And 90% of the projects in the world are delayed. Uh, so this client was very difficult to deal with. He called me one day and he threatened me. And he said, "Look, if you don't deliver by evening, I'm going to NDTV, CNN, BBC. I'm going to expose that this company is not delivering and they're inefficient and blah, 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 blah. Tomorrow, Times of India, you will be in the headlines." So he practically made me feel that that was the last day in my life.
Yeah.
Because my career would have been closed, that chapter would have been closed that day.
Yeah.
And uh, I was not that experienced at that time. I was still uh, trying to make my career better and learning each day. So I didn't have any other solution except to drive to his office. I went and sat there in front of him
Yeah.
because I was sincere. I knew I was doing what I could within my reach, and I told
Yeah.
him, "Look, I'm doing all this. I understand you have nobody can stop you from what you can do.
Yeah.
You have the power, you have the authority, and plus you're a client. But this is where I am. Beyond this, it's up to you." And we could diffuse it. So I had two, three options that day to resign from my job or maybe come or meet the client and face it head on.
Yeah.
And I took the third option. It was so that tells me that there'll be a lot of situations, and it doesn't mean you get through one pressure situation. There are no other situations in future. Something or the other will keep coming up in
Yeah.
different aspects of your life. To be personal, professional, during travel, things can go wrong. And, it's not a perfect world.
Yeah.
Expect the worst. Things are going to happen. Things are going to hit the roof. If you stay calm, you'll deal with it.
Okay. So this, I want to kind of follow up that same question with a question which is very similar to it, but it's just like kind of upside down. So bear with me with this one. So over 25 years of experience in like finance and consulting, right? So what is one belief about business or leadership that you held early in your career that you've completely changed your mind about after, you've had all your experience?
I always believed, uh, you know, authority and seniority was a critical success factor. But over time, today, it's not about authority or seniority or how many years you experience. It's about how present you are in the situation.
Yeah,
And it's also about uh, respecting the fact that even a newcomer could be a game changer
yeah,
in your company, in your work. So, so uh, I think the old paradigm which we grew up in,
hmm,
and, and we were led to believe that it's all about, how old you are, how experienced you are, how much of gray hair you have. All that has changed now. All that has
okay.
So it's about it's really really about uh, teams today. It's about how people collaborate. It's not about who's the best leader. It's about which is the best team. The best team will win.
It's interesting. I feel like even now there are still people who kind of hold on to that older
Yeah.
style of hierarchy and kind of they'll kind of uh, put their ideologies first, even though that even you possibly brought up a point that is maybe valid to the conversation or the issue that's at hand within the company, and just because of that specific reason, they tend to put it off. And then, at some point or another, it's always going to circle back in, and that point may be readdressed later on. So I feel like it's interesting. And can you tell, like, would you have like an instance where, this specific aspect of team collaboration uh, kind of dawned on you, like, okay, this is actually that shift? Or do you think it was more of just like a natural progression? And then as the companies changed and the companies that you worked with kind of started adopting these new policies of kind of working in teams rather than that hierarchical structure, was there any instance that gave you kind of like a eureka moment, or was it just a natural progression to kind of understanding that's how it is now?
So in some sense, it was a natural progression,
Okay.
uh, but it was also supported by my move from industry to consulting.
Okay.
So my first few years of my career were in the industry, in the traditional finance accounting role.
Yeah.
Right? But when I moved to consulting, the structures are very flat there.
Hmm.
And I was very lucky to be, getting a consulting break with a fantastic team. Uh, it was Pricewaterhouse then.
Yeah.
Later on, it was PricewaterhouseCoopers. It was a great team. The partners were very democratic. They were like friends.
Yeah.
And so the seniors in the firm, the principals, the partners, and all the knowledgeable, successful people did not throw their weight around. They were very collaborative. They used to encourage open discussions. Openness was a culture that I couldn't get in the industry,
Hmm.
nor in my audit career.
Yeah.
My audit career was scary. Uh, Every day I thought I'll be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
Industry was less threatening, but it was still hierarchical.
Yeah.
But when I moved to consulting, it was like a game of cricket. I enjoy going to work every day. I think that's where the shift happened, and I still remember some of my senior colleagues sharing that okay, a project is not hierarchical, right? For example, if you're consulting a biotech client,
Hmm.
there's a biotech expert with us, and he's got only 5 years experience. He's the leader of the project, not the director who's 30 years experience.
Yeah.
It's administrative.
Yeah.
So that's really where uh, I had my early exposure to how teams can come together and how this age or uh, hierarchy really doesn't matter.
Okay. Because of like the general decision making and kind of understanding, the shift in terms of like hierarchy and how things are changing, and there are a lot of people who possibly listen to this podcast who they are basically like students, or they're early career professionals in tech, design, or business. So do you think that there's any specific aspect that they should be paying attention to right now in the world that will shape their careers over the next decade?
Domain wise, I think two things are here to stay, right? Uh, Technology has engulfed all aspects of all careers,
Yeah.
uh, our life basically.
Hmm.
But within that, specifically, artificial intelligence is going to rule the world.
Yeah.
It's already made deep inroads into all aspects of our life.
Yeah.
So AI is the future.
Hmm.
In the next 10 to 20 years, the world is substantially going to change. The opportunity profiles are also going to change.
Yeah.
If if I were a student today, I would look at AI as a domain, irrespective of what my vertical focus is.
Hmm.
I could be an aerospace and defense engineer,
Yeah.
but AI is a horizontal. I need to uh, adopt it
Yeah.
faster than others, right? I could be a pilot. I could be an actor. I could be a writer. Everywhere there's AI.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're using AI now in your podcasting techniques. Uh,
Yeah, of course. I feel like that's how it works.
yeah, so I think that's a reality.
Mhm.
And the second thing is, yeah, apart from the professional domain, I just have one message which I shared earlier. There is no limitation. Think big. If you want to become president of USA, go for it. You will be one day. If you want to be the best in your industry, go for it. Don't get limited by, oh, I can't do this. Maybe this is not for me. There is no limitation. This is your opportunity. You live one life. You give it full throttle. Live your life king size. Do what you like to do, but uh, you know, don't limit yourself. 99% of the time, we don't succeed not because we can't. It is because we believe we can't.
Yeah,
Change that belief system and think you can do it. You'll do it.
that's actually very interesting. Kind of circling, just kind of going back to the AI conversation, I mean, the AI topic that you brought up, right? I feel like a lot of people have a bit of a notion that, AI is going to take our jobs. AI is going to kind of going to replace a certain set of the demographic in like the work industry. So, at least just taking my personal opinion on it, and then I'll kind of bring it back to you and give your opinion on the same thing. But I feel like you mentioned about kind of integrating AI into the work style that you're kind of working with, and I feel like that's like the most important thing that people should understand is the fact that when you're incorporating AI into it, yes, there would be certain job opportunities that may get affected by it, but what it also does is it creates lines along those opportunities, which are basically AI integrated opportunities. So you would essentially have to upskill yourself to a point where that becomes your norm, or that becomes your status quo, where that's going to be where you kind of move into next. Do you feel like that's something that you agree with, or do you have like a different take on it?
From the time technology kept evolving,
Hmm.
right? Every time there's been a new technology, people feared, job loss. Right from the time computers came, when computers came, everybody thought that was a doomsday and unemployment rate will hit the sky.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think it's going to threaten jobs. The job profile is going to change. I agree with you. I think you
Okay.
need to reskill yourself. You need to upskill yourself. Uh, but also keep in mind, it's just my view.
Yeah.
AI is not about technology. It is again about leaders and human beings.
Hmm.
Okay? Uh, as as managers, as leaders of the business, or even as students, what are we doing with AI? I mean, just to demystify the whole artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Agree, there's a lot of science behind it. I'm not
Hmm.
undermining. All that AI is doing is it is giving you a digital companion in whatever field you're in.
Yeah.
So it is changing the configuration of your team,
Yeah.
it's changing the structure of your team. So today it's not about delegation, it is about collaboration. The leader is not judged by how authoritative he is. He's judged by how he can get the organization to adapt to different teams, different work cultures because of this infusion of digital companion.
Hmm.
See, if you hire one new employee, the internal environment changes. Right?
Yeah.
Imagine getting a digital companion. Look at the change. So
Yeah.
it's all about change management. It's about how you deal with change. It comes back to the same thing. Change is constant. As long as you can manage change, artificial intelligence is here to help you, not take away your job. But yeah, there's going to be a change in opportunity profile.
Okay.
Opportunities are going to change. Yeah, there may be fewer opportunities, but these fewer opportunities will drive the economy uh, so well that there will be a lot more opportunities that get created.
Okay.
Imagine a company's performance jumps by 4 times
Hmm.
because of AI. Will they not hire more people? They will.
True.
But there's a ripple effect of that upwards. So I'm talking to myself, right?
Yeah.
Welcome the change.
Yeah.
Welcome the change. Quickly adapt to change.
Hmm.
Okay? Don't fear change because AI is here to stay. You'd rather adapt to it sooner than later.
Yeah.
If you don't adapt to it, you will be out of the race anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well jump in the bandwagon and ride the wave and enjoy the journey, even if it is daunting initially, you will
Hmm.
enjoy.
I like the term that you used. I kind of picked that up in when you answered just now. You mentioned change management. I feel like that's a very interesting term, and I feel like that's something that everybody who's kind of getting into the job market now should be kind of versed with, is definitely change management. And um, I feel like that's kind of just how you kind of have to take it forward. So, kind of along the same lines, again, just I'd like to ask one more question in terms of, you've moved across industries, you've moved across geographies, you've moved across roles, right? What advice would you give someone who feels pressured to stick to one path versus following their curiosity?
I'm laughing because I've been unable to advise myself on this so far. Uh, I was talking about this with a friend of mine just
Hmm.
2 days back, and and sometimes when you're ambitious, uh, you tend to take on a lot more than what you can handle.
Hmm.
And sometimes I believe I'm in that space where I take on a lot more than what I can handle. I almost envy people who can stay singularly focused, right? And I kind of, because they're so focused, they do one job, they're happy, they go home, they have time for everything,
Hmm.
and they're not busy. Not
Yeah.
being busy is a virtue these days, right?
True.
I literally envy them. But having said that, uh, you want to get the most out of your life, and you
Hmm.
also want to give back the most you can to this world.
Yeah.
So there are different pulls and pressures. Like you're driven to do so many things. Uh, Ultimately, I think uh, we all need to learn to balance a number of things.
Hmm.
Multitasking is again here to stay in my mind. Gone are the days when we could stick to one track and be happy.
Yeah.
Uh, because today it's about giving full play to your ambitions, to your
Yeah.
desires, to your talent, to your brain power.
Hmm.
You want to do multiple things and live life to the fullest. So doing multiple things, there's nothing wrong in that as long as you can balance it. But your core has to be defined,
Okay.
right? As long as you know, okay, as long as I'm doing this, I
Hmm.
can take on other things.
Yeah.
And once you take care of your core, everything else will start falling in place. But it's always a tightrope walk as you keep adding number of things to do or number of initiatives you get into. Multitasking is also an art
Hmm.
which is primarily dependent on how you can compartmentalize
Yeah.
your brain. So, I keep watching these interviews with many actors, Bollywood, Hollywood. They say, okay, when we were young, we used to do 5 shifts a day, hopping from one movie to another movie, from
Yeah.
the same day, from one set to another set. In one set, he's a villain. In another set, he's a hero. In another set, he's a joker.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get confused. They use the dialogues of some of the movie uh,
Yeah.
in the other movie. So,
Hmm.
you know, what do they do? They just you got to compartmentalize.
Hmm.
If you're doing 10 things in a day, maybe 5 things have not gone well. But when you're doing the sixth thing, you got to compartmentalize. You're completely shut out on the other five, and you're focusing on what can you do the best here. So it's a challenge. There's no right answer, but those who can balance, I think they're having a great time. And someone who I admire and I had the opportunity to meet, as well as none other than our Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Hmm.
I don't know how he balances so many things. He is simply good at everything. Whole world has acknowledged him. I think he'll be a case study in multitasking, compartmentalization, leadership, everything.
I like your point about how you mentioned as you start broadening your outreach, or as you start taking in more and more elements into your life, the tighter of a walk that you have, right? I feel like it's very inversely proportional. I feel like a lot of people may have that understanding of like, okay, if I take more things, then I can essentially be a lot more balanced in terms of what I'm doing. I can be like, oh, I'm part of this, I'll be part of this, and I'll feel like a lot more balanced. But I feel like it's actually like inversely applicable because the more things that you're focused on, just like you mentioned, it's going to be much tighter of a framework, and that the rope on which you're walking is just getting slimmer and slimmer, and you are going to have to be a lot more, kind of balanced to kind of take care of all of that. So that's actually a pretty interesting point. I feel like we've covered quite a lot of topics, and I also want to be respectful of the time that you've given me. So I'd like to end this with just one question. It's a question that I usually pose to all of my guests to kind of take part in it. So if there was any question, or I mean, would there be something you'd want to say to yourself 5 years from now? So since this is a video that's going to be online, it's essentially forever, right? So it would be something that you could probably kind of revisit after a certain amount of time and then kind of just keep track of, where you're at and what you're trying to do. So do you think that what would you want to say to yourself 5 years from now that you feel like would is something that you would have achieved, or the kind of the way that you want to go about your life or whatever?
I would like to tell myself I don't regret anything, and I also like to tell myself that I gave enough time to my family.
Okay, it's a lovely ending. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Guru. I really appreciate you taking your time off your day to kind of join me on this episode, and I really look forward to watching more episodes of your podcast. And I look
Um,
forward to kind of learning a lot from you as we move forward. Thank you so much. Have a lovely time.
Learning is mutual, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.